power wasn't a technique. It was a cosmic explosion. The serene, detached calm of Ultra Instinct was corrupted, dragged down by the sheer, chaotic mass of every Super Saiyan state Goku had ever mastered. It became a destructive golden-silver chaos, a power so immense it didn't just break the opponent. It broke the very fabric of space-time itself. This was the moment Goku's actions awakened chaos. This was the moment existence began to scream. There was no shouting, no pre-battle banter. Goku was gone. The combination of Ultra Instinct and raw Saiyan adrenaline created a cold, algorithmic killer. His movements weren't fighting. They were problem-solving. A threat existed. It must be eliminated. He eliminated the threat. The cosmic kings, the very beings who enforced the universal hierarchy, fell. Not in a heroic, glorious blast, but in a series of swift, brutal, and utterly final strikes. This was the massacre, where the hero crossed the line. He wasn't saving the universe anymore. He was simply obliterating anything in his path. The cost? Irrelevant. The damage? Immeasurable. The forbidden power had achieved victory, but at the cost of Kakarot's soul. The chaotic energy subsided, revealing a smoking, silent battlefield. The scene shifted to the desolate white of the void dimension, where time and life ceased to exist. A slow, chilling clap echoed through the emptiness as the Grand Priest descended. His face held no fury, only profound disappointment. The symphony conductor had lost control of his orchestra, and now the music had stopped forever. The time for judgment had arrived, signaling the complete disruption of existence. The Grand Priest stood, the very air around him a palpable silence that crushed the remaining energy from the universe's greatest warriors. He had dealt with the immediate, overwhelming offense of Goku's actions. Now he turned his attention to the conspirators, the enablers, the ones who should have known better. Whis. The Grand Priest's voice was softer than a whisper. Yet it resonated with the power of 1,000 exploding stars. My son, you broke your oaths. You are a cornerstone of the structure of existence, yet you aided in its shattering. Why? Whis did not meet his father's gaze. He looked down at the ethereal floor of the void dimension, his staff held loosely in his hand, a symbol of the authority he had betrayed. The usual playful lilt in his voice was gone, replaced by a devastating weariness. Father, Whis began, the sound strained. What I did was not born of malice. It was born of a terror you have not allowed yourself to feel. The darkness that approached, the entity that would have consumed not just one universe, but the whole of the 12. It was greater than anything Lord Beerus could have faced even in a unified effort. We had only moments. I saw no other path. I merely guided the vessel of limitless potential toward its inevitable destination. Kakarot's rage was the key that unlocked the only defense. A deep, sorrowful sigh escaped the Grand Priest. You traded a guaranteed catastrophe for a chaotic uncertainty. The result is the same, the breach of divine law, and the deaths of innocents. Whis looked up, his eyes heavy with true sorrow. I accept my punishment, Father. Let my life force be the fuel to repair what Kakarot's power has broken. The Grand Priest shook his head slowly. Your punishment will not be so simple, my son. Your service has been impeccable for millennia. Your devotion, outside of this single catastrophic choice, has been absolute. Therefore, your sentence is to be a permanent, binding guardian. You will be stripped of your ability to travel between the dimensions, tied solely to what remains of the 7th universe. No more training, no more leisurely travel. You will stand perpetual watch. If that universe falls, your existence ends with it. This is your price for risking the many to save the whole. Whis bowed low, a look of agonizing gratitude on his face. The silence that followed was broken by a rough, guttural sound, a warrior clearing his throat. All eyes turned to Vegeta. He stood apart, shoulders squared, his armor scorched and his body bruised, but his gaze was unwavering. He was already a criminal of his own making, but this crime, this was different. Vegeta, the Prince of Saiyans, the Grand Priest intoned. Your punishment is severe, for your hands are stained with the blood of divine beings. You caused the deaths of both Lord Beerus, the god of destruction, and Elder Kai, a supreme Kai. You destroyed the balance. You extinguished a flame of creation and a force of destruction, throwing the 7th universe into a primordial abyss. Vegeta didn't flinch, but the muscles in his jaw tightened. They fell in battle, he growled, his voice a low, painful rasp. It was his own arrogance and the elders' foolish meddling that led them to the front lines. They chose the fight. I only ensured the enemy was destroyed. You seek to rationalize your guilt, but guilt is what you shall wear, the Grand Priest countered, his voice rising slightly in finality. The balance of the seventh universe is now yours to bear. Your sentence is to become the interim god of destruction for your universe. The words struck the Z fighters like a physical blow. Vegeta's eyes widened, a flicker of true, unadulterated horror passing across his face. No, Vegeta whispered, the sound thick with disbelief. That is Beerus's path. I am a warrior. I destroy threats. I do not maintain the balance of life and death. I will not be a glorified cosmic janitor. You will, the Grand Priest stated. Your pride, your endless rivalry with Kakarot has driven this chaos. Now, your duty is to control it. You will not have the temperament of a destroyer, but you will have the mandate. Every life you destroy, every judgment you pass, will remind you of the lives you failed to protect and the balance you personally shattered. Until a suitable successor is chosen by the remaining Supreme Kai, a process that will take centuries, you will bear this burden. Vegeta closed his eyes, his head bowing slightly. He was trapped. The weight of universal responsibility, the very thing he had always rejected, was now bound to his soul. His punishment was not pain, but unending guilt and duty. With the fate of the angel and the prince sealed, the final, most devastating judgment was reserved for the hero who had become the harbinger of ruin. Goku stirred again, the unstable power completely faded, leaving him exhausted and human again. He faced the Grand Priest, a broken man in broken armor. Goku, the Grand Priest began. You, Son Goku, the vessel of ultimate power, the one who was meant to restore hope, instead became the instrument of chaos. Goku's head remained bowed. His dialogue was a humble, broken acceptance of his fate. He didn't offer excuses. He only offered a deep, heartfelt apology, asking for forgiveness from the grieving Z fighters and the silent, judging universe. I went too far. I chased a power that wasn't meant for a mortal. I am responsible. I accept any punishment. The Grand Priest nodded, the slightest hint of sympathy in his ancient eyes. You ask for forgiveness and your heart is true. But the law is absolute. Your debt must be paid not in blood, but in eternity. Before the final punishment could be revealed, Gohan stepped forward, his eyes burning with a deep, silent grief. He was barely holding himself together, and he had a question for the Grand Priest. What about Goten? He was a child. He was innocent. He was caught in the shockwave of this chaos. The Grand Priest's reply was direct. His end was swift, a tragic side effect of your father's act. But his spirit is strong. Gohan, the mantle of Earth's protector, and perhaps more, falls to you. You are the son of the destroyer, but you are also the son of the scholar. You have the heart of a human and the power of a Saiyan, but you have always prioritized life over power. You must ensure your brother Goten's legacy was not in vain. Your mission is to protect this weakened universe, not as a fighter, but as a stabilizing force. Gohan's voice was thick with emotion. I will. For Goten. The Grand Priest then laid out the terrifying terms of the new order. He decreed an absolute mandate. Specific severe restrictions on Saiyan power were now in effect across all remaining universes. No more Ultra Instinct, no more forbidden fusions. All current Saiyan warriors would have their base power sealed at pre-Super Saiyan god levels. And immediately he announced the installation of a new, draconian class of Supreme Kai and God of Destruction to replace the fallen, ensuring the universe would be watched by beings who knew only discipline and fear. The universe, shattered and bleeding, was forced to heal under the ultimate form of divine martial law. With the new order established, the Grand Priest turned one last time to Goku. Goku's punishment was revealed, not death. For the cosmos still required a symbol of the cost of power, but a life sentence of eternal, solitary, non-interventional existence. You will be banished, the Grand Priest commanded, his voice trembling slightly with the weight of the sentence. Chained by divine power to the desolate edge of the void dimension, you will be forever forced to witness the fragile stability you helped shatter. You are the guardian who can never act again. Every day, every year, for all time, you will watch the stars from a distance you can never cross. You will be a monument to hubris. This is the price of unlimited power. The Grand Priest and the divine beings had vanished in a blinding pillar of light, leaving the surviving Z fighters alone with their grief and their terrifying new reality. The void dimension, normally a canvas of endless, featureless white, now felt cold, immense, and heavier than any gravity. Goku stood where he was, his head still bowed. The residual, unstable energy of his forbidden form completely gone. He was just Kakarot again, broken armor and all. He didn't move as the final judgment began to take physical form around him. Whis, bound by the new celestial decree, could only watch, his eyes glistening. The bonds that appeared were not made of metal, but of the very laws of the universe. Strands of raw energy that coiled around Goku's wrists, his ankles, and his throat. They anchored him to a single desolate celestial body that floated perpetually at the absolute edge of the void dimension. It was a place where existence itself was thin, a cosmic ledge overlooking the great indifferent abyss. Goku was the ultimate sentinel, the guardian who could never intervene. Farewell, Kakarot, Whis whispered, the title a final, tragic acknowledgement of the raw, dangerous identity Goku had finally embraced. May your sentence bring you the peace your life could not. With a final, desperate burst of energy, Whis teleported the remaining Z fighters, Gohan, Piccolo, and a silently furious Vegeta, back to Earth. Goku was left alone, suspended in the cold, hard silence. The last sound he heard was the dull, final snap of the divine chains locking into place, a sound that would echo in his own mind for eternity. He was now the universe's most powerful prisoner, forced to watch the life he could no longer touch. Every star he saw was a world he was powerless to save. Every flicker of light was a tragedy he could only observe. On Earth, the atmosphere was thick with the scent of freshly turned soil and shattered hope. They had been deposited near the remnants of Capsule Corp, which miraculously had sustained only minor damage thanks to Bulma's automated shields. But the damage to the fighters was absolute. Vegeta, still seething, ripped the tattered remains of his armor from his body.
This is an insult.
To make me the destroyer.
The clown!
I, the Prince of Saiyans, forced to clean up the mess left by the idiot Kakarot. Piccolo stood, his arms crossed, a dark shadow over his face. The Grand Priest knows your pride, Vegeta. He knew nothing would punish you more than duty. Every act of destruction you commit will be a victory for the balance you fought against. Gohan stepped away from the others, walking toward a small, untouched section of grass where a single, small wooden toy sword lay, Goten's sword. He knelt down, his massive frame trembling as he picked up the toy. He's gone, Piccolo, Gohan murmured, his voice hollow. Goten is gone because we were too busy playing gods and chasing limits. My father broke the world to save it, and we let him. Piccolo placed a heavy hand on Gohan's shoulder. Your father's path is his own. Your path, Gohan, is now clear. You are the stabilizing force. You have the intellect and the heart. The Grand Priest did not place the hope of the universe on your shoulders lightly. Gohan stood up, clutching the toy sword. Then I will start now. The first act of the new order on Earth. We must find the new Supreme Kai for this universe. And until the full restrictions on Saiyan power are enforced, I will seal my own strength. I will rely on my mind, not my fists. This was the core of Gohan's new mission. The immediate aftermath was a whirlwind of logistics and grief. Bulma, utterly devastated but pragmatic, used her vast influence to contact the governments of Earth, putting a reassuring but firm spin on the change of cosmic management. Vegeta, meanwhile, was thrust into his grotesque new role. He wasn't given an assistant angel, only the raw, unrefined knowledge of a god of destruction's duties. His first week was a disaster. He destroyed a planet in the Andromeda Galaxy simply because their species' unique vibrational frequency was irritating him. He nearly erased a star system simply to see if the power of Hakai was truly his. The guilt, however, gnawed at him exactly as the Grand Priest had predicted. He realized that this duty was more than a punishment. It was a cosmic mockery, forcing him to be the antithesis of everything he admired about Goku's reckless heroism. Goku's new reality was defined by agonizing simplicity. The space where he was chained was a flat, two-dimensional plane floating in the three-dimensional void. He couldn't move more than a few feet in any direction. There was no day, no night, no air, no food, and no opponents. There was only observation. He spent the first century in silence, struggling against the chains. He threw every ounce of his remaining strength at them. Super Saiyan 1, 2, 3, all flared and faded, the energy instantly absorbed by the divine bindings. The moment he tried to tap into divine energy, the chains would hum with a punishing throb. a quiet agony that reminded him of his absolute powerlessness. He realized the true horror of the punishment. He was not being held by force, but by a flaw in his own spirit. The moment he had prioritized a chaotic power over the serene wisdom of ultra instinct, he had lost the purity required to be free. His prison was an echo of his own obsession. He began to talk, initially to himself, then to the silent stars. He replayed every fight, every conversation, every meal with Chi-Chi. He sought the wisdom of his mentors, King Kai, Kami, Master Roshi, finding their old lessons more meaningful now than any divine technique. The man who had been defined by action was now forced into introspection. He felt the tremors in the cosmos. He felt the distant, angry pulses of Vegeta executing his grim duty. He felt the focused, contained energy of Gohan struggling to balance the new order. He was connected to them all, yet utterly removed. His only companion was the silent, indifferent abyss. Centuries passed. On Earth, the Saiyan legacy was a distant legend. Gohan was an elder statesman, his power a quiet, contained force. Vegeta was a hardened, distant god of destruction, feared across the galaxy. Whis, bound to the seventh universe, spent his time observing Gohan and occasionally debating philosophical physics with Piccolo, his silence a penance. But in the void dimension, Goku was changing. The centuries of enforced stillness had done what training never could. It had purified his heart. He was no longer trying to break the chains. He was trying to understand them. He realized that the combined Ultra Instinct Saiyan transformation had failed because it was founded on desire, the desire to win, the desire to protect. True Ultra Instinct required the utter absence of desire. By stripping him of all ability to act, the Grand Priest had inadvertently forced him to achieve a state of perfect, detached observation. He closed his eyes. He stopped talking to the stars. He just was. And as he ceased to struggle, the divine bonds began to loosen. Not because he was powerful, but because he was pure. The chains didn't break. They dissolved, returning to the laws of the universe from which they were forged. Goku was free. He stood alone in the void dimension, his clothes ragged, his skin aged slightly, but his heart clean. He had no power, no transformation, not even a fighting stance. He had achieved the ultimate martial art, the power of non-action. His first conscious thought, a profound realization that echoed through the void, was simple. I have to fix this. His freedom was not for fighting, but for redemption. The universe was forever changed. The era of reckless power was over, replaced by the rigid stability of the new order. Gohan became the quiet voice of wisdom, guiding Earth into a golden age of strategy and peace, fulfilling Goten's legacy. Vegeta became the cold, calculating destroyer the universe needed. His every agonizing decision, a silent testament to the debt he owed, and somewhere, in the dark corners of the cosmos, a phantom figure in tattered orange and blue moved. Goku, without power, without noise, without an enemy, ensured the balance held. He had paid the final cost for his hubris, trading his glorious Super Saiyan transformations for the solitary, eternal burden of redemption. The warrior was gone. The guardian remained. The story of the Z-Fighters is a constant dance between creation and destruction. But the final, most terrifying truth is this. When a hero achieves the power of a god, they lose the right to be a man. And when the legend of Kakarot ended, the vigilance of the Kakarot hub truly began. But is this truly the end of Kakarot's story? Does a purified Saiyan heart ever stop seeking a challenge? Is it possible for even the Grand Priest's judgment to hold forever? Hit the comments and let us know your theories on the fate of the Ultimate Guardian.